Hi, I am here to present on a theory to practice video book review, and based on my practicum site and my job position as the student advisory group member, I decided to use this book titled The Academic Advising Approaches, that is, strategies that teach students to make the most of college. Based on the description of my work, it's kind of different from the normal academic advising that we all know. So I decided to take this book in the sense that, in as much as advising is broadly categorized as teacher student kind of affair, um, I wanted to know the new things or some different approaches that pertains to advising, to see if my form of advising um, falls into any of the categories that is listed in this book. And to my surprise, I found um, something that is actually related to my practicum job position and whatever thing that I was doing within this few months of practicum class. So this book is actually written by Drake, Peggy, and Marsha, and it was written in 2013. It has 14 different chapters, but these 14 different chapters are grouped into 4 different parts. So we have the first part being the history of developmental advising as filtered through the prism of social science disciplines, theories from other disciplines, and that informs advising practice, possible features for the profession of advising. So all these 4 parts make up the 14 chapters, right? And when I got to know of the outline of the book, getting to read through the table of content, I realized that um, there might be something different from the normal advising that we sometimes perceive about student and teacher, that kind of relationship. So looking at how my advising approach is like, I am a student, and it's like the reverse. So there is an executive board of the APLU that make decision for students who engage in community engagement or service learning opportunities. So as the member of the advisory group to these member group, that is the APLU, which comprises of presidents of several land-grant universities across the US. So in this stead, it means that myself and my colleagues, being students, are actually providing advisory information to these presidents or members of the APLU for them to be able to make decisions that affect or impact students who engage with the community. All right. So about the book, one is that it references different disciplines, as I said, in defining academic advising. So many definitions of academic advising. The one I just described concerning my work is also another aspect of academic advising. Okay, so the book also contained methods and ways teachers, advisors, and students can incorporate and practice to be successful. You see, the main motive of advising is to be able to meet the target goal that students need. So, with the group that the advisor is advising, the main focus is to meet the goal of making sure you are impacting or they are benefiting from whatever advice that you are giving them. So, academic advising in the book was regarded as diversified field where it treats every student differently based on their life choices, specific goals, learning styles, personal values. And also in the book, it talks about how theories contribute to ideas in the present and as well generate expectations in the future by advising scholars to borrow theoretical insights from other disciplines to form a knowledge base. Okay, and one peculiar thing that was also similar to what Soria et al. 2017 talked about in the article, that there is no clear or definitive method in advising with a purposeful outcome. However, this book provides a lens through which goals might be clarified. Okay, so it's not something that is um, definitive, right? It is kind of focused on the purpose and the outcome. Okay, so based on the work that I do and the ideas that I was able to get from this book, information from the book made me understand that when advising, the advising group should take into consideration the choices, decisions, beliefs, and behaviors of the people they advise because it matters in the success of the overall goal. Like, for instance, my advisory group, we are a group of 10, and we, for us to be able to um, arrive at our overall goal, we must consider the choices, the decisions, beliefs, and behavior of the people that um, we advise. Because if we do not understand them or take into consideration who they are, how they make their decisions, we will not be able to arrive at the overall goal that we set for ourselves. Right. And also, I understood that advising is not a static field, but diverse, and treat people based on the goals that they've set for themselves, how they learn, and some personal values that they have. In as much as the advising approach might be different, it should always be tailored towards guiding the people that will make the decision in learning and developmental goal. I have learned that when making decisions, we must have an environment where expectations are clear, simple, concise, and also feasible, as well as consistent. Because with this, we will be able to come up with the right decisions that impact the students that we are serving. Especially with my group, um, if the environment that we are in is not conducive enough, it would be very difficult for us to come up with the needed or the right projects that are going to benefit the students that we are serving. Okay, so with that being said, the environment is very important. Environment is key when you are undertaking an advisory initiative or an advisory, like in any undertaking that requires advising. So these are some of the things that after reading the book, um, I took away from this good book, and they really helped me, especially in terms of our meetings. With the last one, I got to understand that being supportive of each other towards achieving our goal is very, very important when it comes to advising. So I adopted that upon several occasions in our meetings and discussions of our project, not just to focus on my individual project, but also to focus on how to help the group. Because if the whole group is able to come up with individual projects that are channeled towards a specific thing, that is when our goal of serving the needs of the students who are engaging will be possible. Especially with chapter 7, which perfectly aligns with my work field, is focused on the strength-based advising. This is centered on the talents all students bring to the academy and how advisors might use these talents to challenge and motivate students to be successful. I understood after reading this chapter how my project focus will influence decision makers to consider how the contribution of students in engagement is worth and then and also must be appreciated. Also, as an advisory group member, I adopted the idea of being supportive towards my group members, as I already said. And this helped us to effectively and efficiently decide on the overarching theme of our project topics. So we came up with um, series of themes. People had different ideas, different topics that they wanted to come up with that would help students. So we brainstormed and were able to come up with something that will be beneficial to every student and is feasible in terms of its execution. And we didn't do this individually, we did it as a group. And in the end, we were able to achieve that overarching theme that fuses or connects all our project ideas. And one key thing that I got from this book as well was that before advice is given, one needs to make reference to the previous advice. Everything is built on something. So, as a group, in this student advisory group in the APLU, we decided to look at certain key areas in students' life that help them to engage well in the various campuses across the US. And based on that, we brainstormed on these themes that comes out of the various general ideas, and based on that, we're able to decipher and come up with the one theme that we think is the next step towards what is going to motivate students to engage more in the communities in terms of maybe civic engagement, service learning, taking up service learning courses, volunteering. So all these things come into play. And lastly, with this book, I believe it's not only needed for a group advisory, but it's also needed for students, for teachers, even for the presidents of universities and anybody that offers any form of advice to people, because advising, specifically academic advising, has so many different angles where we can take it from, and it's in so many disciplines. So it might be a different discipline, but the overarching outcome is that it should all be centered on the goal that needs to be achieved. And also, we have to take into consideration the people that we are offering these advices to, because without understanding how they operate, how they make their choices and decisions, we will not be able to come up with the right kind of advice that will help them to make informed decisions. So this is something, the little that I was able to get out of this book. It's really helped me. I was really pleased reading this book because I was thinking it might not be somehow related to what I'm doing, but in the end, I realized that, as they said in the beginning, advising is something that is not static, it's diverse, just like my advisory group that comes from different universities. So I was really glad reading this book, and it has offered me a lot of assistance in terms of how my practicum for this summer went very well. And also, I have been able to understand what it takes for people to be part of advisory groups, and also people to be advisors to students, whether they are faculty, whether they are staff, whether they are students. So thank you very much for providing this book. I will recommend this book to anybody who is into academic advising, because it will broaden the person's knowledge like it has done to me in terms of how diversified advising is. Thank you very much.